What's up, Mavs fans? If you haven't heard about Anchor yet, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Hey, this is Dirk Nowitzki, and you listen to the Mavs Step Back podcast.
I like this, TK. I like that. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk get the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Look with the ball, yeah, get nasty. He'll drop 30, don't gotta ask him. Got Kristaps, coach at the Adam, I spaz like Dallas. I thought I'm rapping, God. If Luka shoot the ball, you know that it's cash. But my boy still living the past. Now you got my boy Kristaps, looking like Duncan Nash in the gap. They just wanna ring, wanna fill the gap on your team head. I ain't talking hats, dang, go relax. Still ain't a champ, defense still coming with the cannabis flow.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Step Back, a Mavs podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. I'm joined as always by my co-host and DallasBasketball.com colleague, Matt Galatson. And really, Matt, it's a little bit different now. I mean, I guess technically it's going to still be DallasBasketball.com eventually, because Fish, he's keeping the URL, and we're still going to have that name, that brand. But some big news this past week. Matt and I, we are joining Fish over at Sports Illustrated / The Maven. The Maven is the publisher of Sports Illustrated. They bought them not too long ago, and Fish got an offer to go over there and cover the Cowboys for them, and Fish said, well, before I accept the contract, I want to cover the Cowboys and the Mavs, and sure enough, they agreed to it. The Cowboy site is up and running. The Mavs site is supposed to be coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks, I believe, but nevertheless, it's very exciting stuff. I'm super stoked for the opportunity. Matt, I mean, I know you're excited too. Oh, yeah, and Matt, he just accepted a new position at 105.3 The Fan. So congrats to you, my friend.
Yeah, a lot going on. It's been a whirlwind the last couple weeks, but I'm really excited. I've always loved The Fan, and when that position came open, Fish texted me immediately and threw my name into the ring, and it only took a little while for me to get hired there, which I'm very thankful for. I'm already working on a great team, and so the Maven Sports Illustrated thing, it sounds a little complicated on the surface, but it's really not that complicated. So the way it works is so right now it's a separate. They're not integrated yet, but the way it's going to work is. So the Maven is operated by the same person who used to own and operate Scout.com, which is where DallasBasketball.com used to be before they moved to 24/7. So His plan is to have a bunch of team sites up and running, much like Scout.com, and it's going to be, from what we understand, and we talked to a guy named Derek the other day, the guy that trained us on how to use everything. He informed us that it's going to be a blended experience. So right now it just looks like the Maven, but what it's eventually going to turn into is the editorial part, and everything that you and I do is going to be on the Sports Illustrated side of things. This Correct. Obviously is when they get everything integrated together, and then the community aspect is going to be more like the Maven experience. So it's really exciting stuff. I'm assuming we're keeping DallasBasketball.com as the name. I think that's been the plan all along, and that's what it sounds like. I think right now you can find the Cowboys site at cowboymaven.io. Eventually, I think that's going to change, and Fish is going to go back to his old brand of cowboyshq.com once everything's finished. But all that's going to take, it's going to be another month or so, hopefully before the NFL regular season starts, before that's all squared away. And then we have a little bit more time to worry about the Mavs side of things. But, it's really exciting. Both of us are obviously super excited, and I know Fish is as well. And, that'll be eventually the new home of the Step Back. But for right now, we're kind of homeless, I guess, aren't we?
I mean, I wouldn't say we're homeless. Fish is, he's putting us up on 105.3. So that could be our temporary home for the Step Back right now and who knows? I mean, that might eventually turn into, something more regular. We might have the Step Back in multiple places, but, I mean, I'm really excited too. That was my understanding, is that the Maven is going to be more like, it's going to have more of a community aspect to it. It's going to be kind of like how DallasBasketball.com boards were. So it's going to be more like that, and then eventually, we're going to have a Sports Illustrated site for both the Cowboys and the Mavs stuff that we put up. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for you, Matt. That's an awesome opportunity for you at the Fan. I know they're going to have you super, super busy, but
yes.
I know you literally just started, and I mean, I know they're probably just making you do all kinds of stuff to start out, but I mean, I think it's going to be worth it. I think you'll enjoy it.
Right now, I'm doing all the training stuff, which isn't that hard. It's just watching a bunch of videos and taking a bunch of tests. But I got in there on Wednesday. That was my first day, and everybody, all the radio talent is gone. They're all in California for Cowboys training camp. So I was super stoked to meet, all those guys. I mean, we already know Ben and Skin and Fish, obviously, but I was excited to meet everybody else, but they're all gone. So, I mean, it's great. I'm really looking forward to actually, starting to write some stuff for them. I mean, I'm super excited. It's nice to have an office to go to for my work these days. I have a setup with 3 big computer monitors and a big keyboard, and it's great.
And I mean, I can't say enough about Fish. I've been with DallasBasketball.com. I've been with you guys for I think a year and a half now.
Yeah, if I remember right.
Yeah, about a year and a half, and I mean, it was a seamless transition, perfect fit. I've really enjoyed myself, and both you and Fish. I mean, y'all have been great. And I mean, who would have thought? I mean, I wouldn't have thought that something like this would come up as quick as it did, but I'm really excited for it. And like you said, Matt, we're gonna transition into this now, but we've got a little bit of a while before we have to actually worry about that Mavs site being up and running. But the full NBA schedule comes out Monday. I believe it's. I have to look it up. I think it's Monday afternoon, around 2 or 3. But
yeah, I think it's 3:00 Central Time. Maybe.
Yeah. So the full schedule will be out Monday. What we know so far is that the Mavs will not be playing on opening night, which is October 22nd, but they will open the season the following night on October 23rd at home against the Washington Wizards. And then 2 days later, on October 25th, they'll travel to New Orleans, which I'm thrilled about, by the way. Last year, both of those Mavs-Pelican games fell in the month of December, so I got all of my Mavs excitement down there out of the way early. So I'm glad that I get to start out the season there, and hopefully the next one is in the second half of the season. But anyway, so they the second game of the season they play in New Orleans. Since the Pelicans are playing in Toronto for opening night, I'm going to assume that that Mavs Pels game will be Zion Williamson's home debut in New Orleans. So I mean that should be a really good game. I'm looking forward to it. We also know that the Mavs will be playing at New York, at Madison Square Garden on November 14th. So that's less than a month into the season. Kristaps Porzingis will travel back to New York. I'm sure he'll get a very warm, heartfelt welcome from the very understandable and rational New York Knicks fan base. And you know, we had Dennis Smith Jr. on last week, and he was talking about how even though he's still friends with all of the Mavs players and everything, that he's still ready. He's eager to play the Mavs, and he didn't get that chance last year. They were finished playing the Knicks after that trade went down, so this will be his first time playing against his former team too. And then other than that, we really don't know anything else. We know the Mavs aren't playing on Christmas. If the Knicks had a roster that was, somewhat respectable, just to put it nicely, maybe they would have done that Mavs-Knicks Madison Square Garden game on Christmas. I mean, I don't know. But regardless, Mavs aren't playing on Christmas, and that's pretty much all we know. We know 3 games. So they're playing the Wizards at home opening night, 2 days later at New Orleans, and then November 14th, they play at Madison Square Garden. What are your initial thoughts on this, Matt?
Very boring game to start with the Wizards. They're going to be god-awful.
I mean, boring, but there's a very good chance of very good chance of a win there. Although, and I mentioned this to you earlier, but, we don't have renowned Wizards killer Wesley Matthews anymore, so I don't know what we're going to do.
That's true, but they're going to be terrible. So it's like we talked about Kirk a couple of weeks ago, Kirk Henderson.
Kirk, your enthusiasm, by the way.
Yeah, go check out his pod. Plug. Whatever. But anyway, so he, we talked with him about how we need the Mavericks to have a easy intro into the season if they're going to have, a decent chance at the playoffs. So with the Wizards and New Orleans, who I think is nowhere near as good as everybody else does. I think they're, Lakers without LeBron. So how good can that be?
The Pelicans, they went from being viewed with all the Anthony Davis stuff. They went from being okay, this is an interesting young team, kind of rooting for them because they're underdogs now and a bunch of young guys coming together and all that. They went from that to kind of overrated, really overrated, really quick. And
I agree.
I mean, I don't know if you get that feeling, but I kind of get that feeling. They they went from okay, underdog, kind of rooting for them, something like that feeling, to all right, maybe we need to slow down the hype a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think they're incredibly overrated. I like some of their players. I like Zion, obviously. I like J.J. Redick. I like Derek Favors. But I think Lonzo and Brandon Ingram and that whole Lakers crew is kind of trash. And Drew Holiday's fine.
I don't think they're bad. And Drew Holiday's amazing. What are you talking about, Matt? Drew Holiday.
I would love for I would love for Drew Holiday to be a Maverick. I'm just saying, he's not. I struggle to see who their star is outside of Zion. I mean, the Mavericks have 2 stars. There's tons of teams with 2 stars. I just think New Orleans is bordering under 500, and people are acting like they're 45, 50 win team. I just don't see it.
Yeah. Well, part of that is, and if you ask their new general manager, David Griffin, I forgot where he said. I listen to Sirius XM NBA radio a lot, and before he accepted that job, he used to come on that show a lot. So when he did accept the job, I think there was an interview he was having on there, and he said something about that he thought Drew Holiday had MVP potential. And I was like, man, we're even taking a player. We're even taking a player now that's really, really good. Like, he's an all-star in my opinion. He's all defensive player, just amazing. I'd love to have him on the Mavericks. We're taking a guy like that, and we're even gonna overrate him now, which is, I mean, that's really something. But I mean, and even Zion. Huh? Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, he's got like a Homer view now. He's got his Homer goggles on. When he said that, he was still excited from, all the stuff that had gone down. But anyway, and I mean, then you look at Zion, and I love Zion. I would have that. There were people on Twitter offering to sacrifice me in order for the Mavs to get Zion, or maybe that was just
first
one
in line.
person.
No, I was first in line for that. Line started behind me.
But even Zion, we haven't seen anything from him yet that says that he can withstand an 82-game schedule. He played in, one Summer League game before getting hurt? And everything I've heard so far, people aren't saying that he's overweight. Or people aren't saying he's fat. But there's a lot of people saying that he does need to get his weight down, because as athletic as he is, being a high flyer, just his style of play, it's almost inevitable that he's going to have injury issues if he doesn't get it down. So you have that to factor in. I mean, like you said, the Lakers pieces that they got in the AD trade, I'm not high on them. I mean, it's just kind of overrated. But anyway, we could go on and on about that.
I want to say one thing about Zion real quick. It's not just I don't necessarily think he's going to have injury problems. I mean, the guy busted out of his shoe and he was okay. But my thing is the conditioning of it all. He's never played that many games in one regular season in his entire life. Luka played as much basketball as anybody playing in Europe, and the NBA still wore him out by the end of the season. He wasn't in great shape, granted. He looks like he is now, which we're going to talk about in a minute. But still, I mean, rookies always have they always hit the rookie wall later in the season. And,
and it's like with Zion. Yeah, it's like with Zion at Duke. He probably played a total of 33, 34 games maybe, and that's 40 minutes a game in college. And then you have 82 games in the NBA at 48 minutes a game, and the competition level is just, it's not even comparable. So I mean, I could see him getting worn out, and there's more. I don't know if he's gonna. I'm not gonna say that Zion's gonna be injury prone, but there's a lot more opportunity for him to get injured playing with the guys he's playing with now.
Potentially, you never know. I don't think he's going to come out. I mean, a lot of people are acting as though he's going to come out and be the best rookie ever, which he might. But I think people need to temper their expectations a little bit. He's going to be great, but he's going to have his struggles just like every other rookie. And, as a result of that, I think New Orleans is going to kind of do the same. They're going to struggle. They have some good pieces, but they're not, they're not a 500 team, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, I mean, I'm with you. I think they're I think they're probably about a 36 to 38 win team. And I mean, like I said, we only know 3 games on the schedule right now, but all 3 games look like potential wins, assuming that the Mavs stay healthy. I think they could definitely take care of the Wizards on opening night. Should be able to take care of the Pelicans on the road that next game. And then, later on when they play the Knicks. Man, I have a really good feeling about that. I really expect KP to just explode in that game. I don't know exactly what what he's going to score, but special stuff happens in Madison Square Garden, especially for opposing players, and I just have a feeling that that's going to be one of those special MSG moments when Porzingis returns and just lets go of a lot of frustration.
You know what that means, right?
What?
Rick Carlisle's going to hold him out of the game.
Oh, don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby.
I mean, that would be such a Mavericks thing to do, though, don't you think?
Yeah. Like as soon as we get to November 14th, I don't watch the Mavs have a game on November 13th, and then the 14th is load management night for for Porzingis.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
Rick Carlisle is pretty, conscientious of stuff like that. I think he recognizes opportunities like that. I don't think he would take that away from a guy will have been out 20 months by the time the season starts. So I think they'll, if there is any kind of load management stuff, I think they'll have it already scheduled to where it's not for that night. But like you said, if it if it did happen though, that would be pretty frustrating, and we'd say, oh, that's typical.
The Step Back is also brought to you by Spotify. On Spotify, you can listen to all of your favorite artists and podcasts in one place for free. You don't even need a premium account. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode, and premium users can download episodes to listen to offline wherever they are. You can also easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app and search for The Step Back, a Mavs podcast on Spotify, or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. Also, make sure to follow us so you never miss an episode of The Step Back.
Anyway, as we get closer to the season and we're in the dead of the summer, obviously you always want to see how your current players are doing. You want to see how their summer workouts are going. And luckily for Mavs fans, we've had a lot of that lately. Porzingis, he's been killing it this summer. I mean, I know people say this all the time, and DeLon Wright even joked about it on Instagram a little bit earlier. I think it was a day or so ago. But Porzingis, he really looks like he has added a considerable amount of muscle since the last time we saw him. Like towards the end of the season, he wasn't playing, obviously, but there were videos that surfaced of him at practice and pregame and just shooting around and everything, and he looks different now from what he did then. And we already knew the Mavs had a training program in place for him to make sure that it would help prevent future injuries like what he had been having earlier in his career. So I think it's definitely working. Casey Smith and Rick Carlisle, they were, overseas working with him earlier this summer. I think they were with Luka as well, if I recall. And, Luka, the last few days, he went from Luka Don Thick to Luka Don Thin. And, I'm really excited,
Dork.
Matt. I mean, I'm really, really excited about this because, like we mentioned on the last episode, it's not that Luka wasn't in shape, especially like by our standards, because of course he was in shape, but he wasn't in NBA shape going into his rookie season. But it seems like he is really taking it seriously this summer. It does help that Slovenia was eliminated from the World Cup stuff, so he's not tempted to, go do anything with that. He's just focused on his workouts and everything. I think they're going to hit the ground running. I'm really excited about it, Matt.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I mean, obviously Instagram is great, and everything we've seen. I'd like to see what KP looks like in person on media day. I'm pretty excited about that, to see how much his body's actually changed in person. Because obviously it's hard to tell just with pictures on on social media. I know he's in better shape. I'm just saying I'd like to see what it looks like in person. But as far as Luka goes, that I can tell he's dropped at least 15 pounds. Like, at least 15 pounds. He looks
he's skinny.
In shape. He's got some muscle definition in his arms instead of like whatever my arms look like is what his arm looked like before. He looked. They both look great. I hope it translates into some success.
I think it definitely will. And the thing with Luka, it's not just that he's thin, but he's got like some definition too. Like,
my thing is, I hope it helps him be successful. I think it will play a role. But them being in shape was never as much of a concern to me as the players that they have around them as far as shooting and everything that they need. It's better than it was last year, but I feel like that's more important. But we'll see. I'm really excited, especially about the whole Luka thing, because for me, it's always been easier to tell when somebody has lost weight than when somebody has put on weight in terms of getting in better shape. And so Luka looks like he's really, really put in the work. And who knows, maybe he has the six-pack that Rick Carlisle wanted.
Instead of just having one ab.
Yeah, he's going to walk around media day with his shirt up, just like, what's up, guys?
Crop top. He's going to go with the crop top.
Learn a thing or two from Zeke, but that's all really exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, even DeLon Wright, he got in on the fun, which I'm a dummy. I saw that on Instagram. He was on the beach, and he posted a picture, and he was just like, I gained 20 pounds of muscle this summer. And so me, the mindset I have, obviously I screenshot it and posted it to Twitter, and it's like, new Mavs guard DeLon Wright says he gained 20 pounds of muscle. Well, then he goes back and comments underneath his picture, and he was like, I was totally joking, by the way. I think, and then when I went back and or somebody mentioned this, I saw it after all that happened. Apparently, Trae Young posted a beach picture like that, I think, and said something about gaining a bunch of muscle. So then I put two and two together, and I was like, is DeLon Wright taking a shot at Trae Young? Because that would be incredible.
No, he's not.
Why not? Well, the Mavs Hawks rivalry is a thing now.
Why does everything that Trae Young says, or why is everything that Trae Young says, always linked back to the Mavericks in some way, shape, or form, or vice versa?
Because Luka Doncic was traded for him.
It's so annoying.
It's annoying, Matt, but you're just going to have to get used to it because that's life now. They are linked forever.
I'm happy for Trae Young because he apparently has put on weight, even though he still looks like, like he's the size of my 15-year-old nephew.
That little running back kid that's dominating the internet. You know, he's a little running back kid. I don't know. He looks like he's in 4th, 5th grade or something, but he's got a 6-pack, and that's kind of like how Trae Young is right now.
Sure. Just saying.
Obviously, you haven't seen that because of your your non-comment there.
No, I have not seen that. But
I'd send
anyway,
it to you.
I'm happy for Trae. Sounds like he's in good shape too. Hopefully, the pressure will be off of him a little bit now that the whole Rookie of the Year conversation is over, because Luka is Rookie of the Year as he deserved. And I mean, we knew their bodies were going to develop as their, early season or early career, progressed. So good for them. Good for both of them. If one more person brings up Trae Young to me before October, I swear, Dalton, I'm going to delete Twitter.
I haven't had anybody mention him in a while. Today was the first time that I had heard that in a long time. And I mean, I know you don't want to. I know you're like, well, why does Trae Young have to be connected to everything Mavs? But I mean, it was kind of a weird coincidence that it was the same setting and the same kind of, post. Because everybody that posts stuff and says, "Oh, I gained X amount of muscle," the whole NBA Twitter community now is just like, "Oh, here we go again," because everybody does that.
My thing is, the Rockets just traded for Russell Westbrook. And in the last, 2 weeks since that's happened, or 3 weeks or whatever, I mean, there was obviously the period where, it was big news and blah, blah, blah. But, a week after that, up until today, I've heard more about Trae Young than I have about Russell Westbrook and the Rockets, who are going to challenge for, first place in the West.
Well, but to be fair, that's not
stupid.
To be fair, that's not from Mavs Twitter though. That's just in general. All the sites, all the accounts that I follow, Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, which is basically the same thing. Ball is Life, stuff like that. Trae has been playing a lot of pickup basketball this summer. And, wherever he goes, there's cameras, and so, therefore, he's getting a lot of publicity for it. It is annoying, but, I mean, that's why. And I don't think...
There's always some Hawks stan on my Twitter, on my timeline somewhere, every fucking day, and it pisses me off.
And, I mean, don't you think it's a weird coincidence that we hadn't seen anything about Luka this entire summer? As far as working out or, he's kind of private with that stuff. You don't see anything. And then, after Trae's been playing at the Drew League and all this other stuff and all these videos surface and everything, now we're starting to see Luka's summer workouts. What?
Juking out third graders at basketball camp.
Yeah. By the way, that's the most overdone bit I've ever seen. When NBA players host camps and they'll post these videos of a little kid going up for a layup and somebody just spikes it, just completely blocks it, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's so funny." I'm thinking come on, man.
Nah, man, I bet those kids could score on Trae.
I don't know. Are
you kidding me? He's the worst defender in basketball, statistically.
Yeah, but he's not going to let them do it. He's going to try extremely hard to not let that happen. So
they're going to do it, and then he's going to run around and make sure nobody sends it out on social media.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, anyway, we're going to move on from the summer workout stuff and people posting pictures to Instagram and all that, because I mean, I'm gonna be honest, Matt, that's the most dead of the summer topic I think we could have thought of. But
that's right there.
We're gonna move on. Earlier in the week, Isaiah Roby, that signing was made official, and by the Mavs completing that signing, the 15-man roster is set for now at least. I don't know if that's going to be the 15-man roster once the season opener comes around, because I mean there's just a couple of potential trades I could see happening before the season starts. And one of those is the Andre Iguodala trade that he had the exclusive on. The Mavs were talking with the Grizzlies about trading Courtney Lee and a second-round pick for Andre Iguodala. Obviously, the Grizzlies, they didn't want to take on Courtney Lee, so nothing came of it. I think it was reported that they wanted to get a first-round pick for Iguodala, even though the Warriors had to give the Grizzlies a first-round pick for them to take him. So I don't know. I don't get that logic. But anyway, so nothing has happened. Andre Iguodala is still with the Grizzlies. I really just don't see him starting the season in Memphis. I don't think he wants to be there. It's already, I think Tim McMahon even said that, the Mavs and the Rockets were in the mix for him too. But, I mean, if they're going to trade him, if Memphis is going to trade Iguodala, I don't see an offer out there, a potential offer, that would beat what the Mavs are offering, which isn't much. So, to me, it just kind of feels like you can either trade him and get what you can for him now. You already got a first-round pick from Golden State. And, get a second-round pick and expiring Courtney Lee. Or, you can save some money, too, because Courtney Lee's making less than Andre Iguodala. Or you can buy him out. He can go sign wherever he wants to. You get nothing out of it. Or you can keep him until the trade deadline and, potentially risk him not wanting to play there, which I don't know that for sure, but I just have a feeling he doesn't want to play in Memphis. So you can keep him until the trade deadline and just hope all that goes well until that point. I don't know. What do you think, Matt? That's one of the minor type trades I could see the Mavs getting in on before the season opener.
I don't think much of it. I think that, to me, it seems like they're pretty set in their roster going into next season. Their one attempt at a trade this summer, a real trade, obviously fell through. I just, the whole Iguodala thing doesn't make too much sense to me. But
I mean, you say real trade, but I mean that was like a real thing that was talked about with the Mavs and Grizz. It's just a matter of the Grizz not wanting to take Courtney Lee.
I'm not saying it was the discussions didn't happen. I'm saying the one trade that they had really on the table was the Dragic trade, and it fell through. And it seemed like after that they were like, all right, well, it. We're just going to mail in the rest of this offseason and do some minor moves and take what we have in the next year. And I think they like their pieces. I think whether they're right or wrong, I think they like what they have. And
I'm still kind of confused with the Miami trade stuff, but I don't think it went down the way you're thinking. I think what was reported with Dragic going to Dallas, I think that was what Miami thought was going down, and the Mavs thought they were getting Olynyk and Derek Jones Jr.
All right, I have it on decent authority that is wrong.
Okay, so, well, I've seen all different kinds of stuff, but given what we know about the Mavs, and they obviously like Kelly Olynyk. I mean that wouldn't shock me if that was the case. They have a trade on the table for Dragic, and I don't know. I could just see them being like, "Oh, hold up! I thought we had this," and it fell through. So I hope that they can circle.
Then they should all be fired, because that's horrendously bad. And I'm 90% sure that's not what happened. Anyway, my point is, they haven't done anything this whole summer since, their last thing with DeLon Wright and signing the two ways and all that stuff. It's been super quiet, and I just expect it to stay that way, at least until they, get halfway through their fall schedule and heading into December, and they're like, wow, we're not as good as we thought we were. We need to be aggressive and make another move. Maybe then it'll be Iguodala, but
I just think it's more of like a staring match with Memphis, because if they hold on to Iguodala closer to the start of the season and they can't find anything else better than what the Mavs offered, and like I said, if he doesn't want to play in Memphis, which I can't see him going from what he was with in Golden State to wanting to play. I don't think he's like Vince Carter. I don't think he wants to waste a season. But anyway, I guess if you ask Matt Moore, he would say that it's a better situation for Iguodala in Memphis than it is in Dallas. But that's a completely different.
I don't want to get into that.
I don't want to jump down that rabbit hole, but there's a lot of Mavs fans that are mad at him right now. But I think if Memphis comes around and it's just like, okay, we weren't able to get what we wanted, but we still have this offer on the table. And, Courtney Lee, he played in Memphis before. They loved him beforehand. Obviously, he's not the same player anymore, or at least he wasn't last year. But they'd save a little bit of money and they'd net a second-round pick. So I could see it happening. I'm not saying it will happen, but, I don't think we can say 100% that this 15-man roster is going to be the exact roster that we go into the season with.
I can say this with 100% certainty. It's that I'm going to die on this mountain, and then tomorrow morning, as soon as this pod publishes, that trade's going to go through, and I'm just going to be like, well, okay, shit.
And look, I said I had two. And the second one was the one we already discussed, about Miami. I could see them circling back around to that, and I think that has less of a chance of happening than the Memphis trade, just because they botched the Miami thing so horribly. I think Miami's just like, nah, we're just gonna move on. But
if they circle back around for Dragic, then I think it'll be around the trade deadline. Because I think that's when Miami is going to try and get a little more aggressive if they're on the playoff boundary, kind of heading towards the All-Star break and whatnot. So we'll see.
I think though, it just seems inevitable that he will end up on the Mavs, regardless whether it's a trade before the season or mid-season or free agency next summer. It kind of seems inevitable that he's going to end up with the Mavs. So
I agree.
I think at the very latest you'll be happy next summer.
We'll see. I've already put it behind me this summer. I've moved on. The first stage was acceptance, and I'm at the recovery part.
Yeah, and like we said, there's still a lot of time left before the season starts. Obviously, you have preseason. That'll be at the very beginning of October. Before that, we'll have training camp. Before that, it will be media day. But, all that's in September. And, we still have a good month and a half before we jump into all that. We have some really special guests lined up for you guys towards the end of this summer and right before the season starts. So be sure to keep coming back and checking in with us. And we're doing the best to bring you guys the best content, both written and here on the pod, every single week. And, as always, be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to the pod on your favorite platforms. And that's going to do it for this episode, guys. We really appreciate it. Matt, you have anything to add before we head off?
No, not really. I'm just want to thank everyone. Even though it's the dead of the summer, we really don't have a lot to talk about. Our numbers have been steady, and we appreciate that. It makes me believe that during the regular season that they're just going to go off the charts.
Absolutely.
So,
When the season starts, it's going to be nuts.
So yeah, I mean we're both really looking forward to it, and we just appreciate y'all sticking with us this summer and making us what we are.
Yeah. The support's been crazy. The Mavs fan base is super crazy passionate. Best fan base in the league. I'm obviously biased, but I truly believe that. And I mean, I can't believe how far we've been able to come with this in such a short period of time. And I'm so ready to actually get to start off a season, with that excitement, and we get to bring it to you guys on the podcast. So again, guys, we appreciate it.
Number one Mavs podcast.
Number one Mavs podcast. If you agree with us, let us know about it on Twitter. And guys, I'm glad you interrupted and said that, Matt, because guys, if you listen on Apple Podcasts, if you could take just 20 to 30 seconds and go on there and leave us a review, that would be just greatly appreciated. Matt and I, we've been discussing it here not too long ago. We haven't set anything in stone, but we're considering doing a ticket giveaway. We're going to considering giving away 2 tickets for the opening night for the Mavs. And the way that will go, you have to be following the step back, and then you have to go and leave us a review and put your Twitter at somewhere in that review so we'll know who you are. But that's something to look forward to. So that's a little incentive to go give us a review on Apple Podcasts. But anyway, guys, we appreciate it. Thank you for coming in every week and listening to us. We hope you have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
Champs, even still coming with the best flow. The man's the best on the flow. I'm wild, but yeah, I'm the GOAT. This game get cold. Yeah, you might need a coach. Your friends turn into your foe. But I'ma just roll. Gotta keep rolling your boat. Yeah, I swear I give them hope. I say I'm cleaner than the soap. This time of year proves who will really sink afloat for real. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. Yeah, it's the Mavericks, all about action. Don't do no acting, no Samuel Jackson. Dirk at the ball, you know that it's magic. Post move deadly, yeah, get tragic. In this game, it's a lot of grit, you know what I'm saying? Proves who has integrity. Late nights, early mornings, but we all want the trophy at the end of the day. And that's the beauty of this game, because at the end of the day, only the real gonna float, man, for real. You either sink or you float. Only the real gonna float.